are gonna get started right away. Just want to make sure that the audio is working. We're looking at eXp Realty in depth. So there's a lot of questions about what eXp is, what it's not, what the benefits are, what the pros, what the cons are, what limitations eXp has. So we're gonna address all of them today. So just want to make sure that our audio is working. As you have questions, please feel free to drop them down in the chat. This is designed to be the most comprehensive explanation of eXp. So we're going to cover eXp Realty from its origin story, its trajectory, what eXp has, what it does not, the commission splits, the revenue share system or program, equity, all that fun stuff. So you're in for a little treat here. So I don't want to delay any further. Let's get going. All right, so to help us along, we're going to go into a slide presentation. So again, as you have questions, please feel free to drop them down below. But let's get started with the quick origin story. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. eXp Realty was founded by Glenn Sanford in 2009. eXp Realty is the first cloud-based brokerage. Now you're starting to see more of them come up in the form of Real, in the form of other brokerages out there that have taken the model that eXp has created and have adapted it for their own needs. So it's a great thing with when competitors honor you by becoming your competitors. So that's a great thing. And really allows agents to become true owners and shareholders in the company. So that was a revolutionary thing that was created by eXp Realty across the board. In the past, well, we'll get into what in the past meant for brokerages and how brokerages operated in the past. That was radically changed thanks to eXp. So now we are more empowered than ever as agents. And presently there's over 75,000 agents. I cannot update this slide fast enough every single time I give this presentation because it went from 20,000 agents to 30,000 to 40 to 50 to 75, all of that within a span of 12 months. So it's a huge accomplishment that eXp is growing at a incredibly fast rate, outpacing every other brokerage in the country and in the world at the moment. To give you a more roadmap view or a overall view of eXp and where it's coming from, 2009, as mentioned, eXp Realty was founded. And I want to make something very notable. After 3 years, eXp goes international. It goes into Canada. And then we're going to fast forward into 2015. This little thing right here, which isn't little at all, it's a monumental thing that happened. eXp launches the Agent Equity and Icon Agent program. So this means that agents now have ownership stake in the company, and also the Icon program allowed eXp to exponentially grow. And that's really one of the big accelerators that eXp still to this day in 2000, as of this recording, is 2022. So this slide is, we can't update this one fast enough, where it has really carried the growth overall as well. So this was a huge thing for eXp to really help us get to that next level. And another notable thing, we're going to fast forward over here to 2018. eXp World Holdings joins NASDAQ, and we open in all 50 states. So within 9 years, we're in 50 states and in multiple countries. And if we fast forward now to beyond 2021, we're at 75,000 agents, and we have over 20 countries that we have a really strong presence in. So this is something that has absolutely taken over and will continue to take over. So I want to make sure that I honor the timeline in the history of where eXp is coming from. Now, as we know, innovation is always happening. So on the left-hand side, you see the brick and mortar location. So the traditional way of doing real estate, or the traditional way of doing things. So you have blockbusters, we have the Circuit Cities of the world, and then we have the traditional brick and mortar real estate brokerages. So if we compare the old way of doing things versus the new way, we know what happened to these logos over here, these companies. And we also know these reputable brands on the right-hand side and how they absolutely disrupted an industry and have absolutely eclipsed the industry altogether. So they revolutionized how things were done. So Blockbuster, of course, went bankrupt, and we have Netflix, where Netflix is one of the largest companies in the world, and has really changed the way that we consumed entertainment. Amazon, one of the largest companies in the world, and has really revolutionized how you consume or purchase items. And then with eXp, very much the same thing, where you have more and more traditional real estate brokerages actually going out of business, especially coming out of the pandemic, where a lot of these brick and mortar locations, they had to be at a standstill. They did not know, nor could they even open during the time that we were in lockdowns. As opposed to eXp in 2020, it actually grew 3 times as fast because we were already in a virtual world, already had adapted to where we were going to go anyway. Of course, nobody could guess or even fathom that the lockdown was going to ever happen. But at the same time, eXp was positioned to really adapt to it since 2009. So it had just exponential growth, as you saw from our roadmap. Now, one key distinction here is that eXp Realty is one brokerage. It's not a franchise. This is something that especially those agents that have been around real estate for a while just really can't wrap their minds around, because the traditional way of doing real estate was get you a costly overhead. So have get a commercial lease or purchase a commercial building to do business out of. And if you were to purchase a franchise, as an example, you are locally confined because your franchisors, the folks that actually own the franchise, the rights to the franchise, they control where you can open, right? So you are geographically bound. Inconsistent growth incentives, well, really, if you're entering a franchise model as an agent, regardless of if you're a new agent or coming from another brokerage, well, the upside is to the level of the leadership of that franchise, not to the leadership of the entire brokerage, whether that's Keller Williams, whether that's Century 21, whether that's Remax, all the other brokerages out there. You're not necessarily competing or growing up to that executive level up there. You're really confined to the franchise and the rate of growth within that franchise, because they're all operated independently. And then very similar thing, there's limited technology and support. So it's not like you're tapping into the entire ecosystem of those brokerages. A lot of the resources, a lot of the items that you can count on day in and day out are all dependent on what your specific franchise gives you. As opposed to eXp, well, you have equity into the entire brokerage, and not only just the brokerage, and the entire eXp World holding. So everything that the holding company purchases, you're an owner in, such as Verbella, where we have our cloud campus. So we do have a cloud campus where you can log in from anywhere in the world and operate your business. Whether you have a question for your broker, you can log in and ask that question, or you can send them a direct message, you can call them, you can email them, you can text them, you can look at your files wherever you are. Everything is online and on a cloud environment, so your business doesn't have to stop. You have real-time support by over 1,000 staffers that will help you with technology, that will help you with compliance, that will help you with operating your business and moving it forward. You have over 80 hours. I know it says 50, but with our tremendous growth, it's hard to keep up with all of the changes that we need to make in our presentation deck. But the live training component, we have over 80 hours every single week. And that's from the eXp side alone. I'm not even counting the additional 8 hours of live training that you get through our Agent First group, the group that I founded, and is one of the fastest growing groups at eXp at the moment, and really in the entire country, given the rate of growth that we're experiencing. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. International collaboration, we're in over 20 different countries at the moment and are growing extremely quickly thanks to the leadership and really the model in and of itself. But all that being said, let's break eXp down into 3 categories that are more meaningful to you. One is a commission side. So this is where you're selling real estate. This is a real estate brokerage after all. It just happens to have more revenue streams than any other brokerage out there. The second revenue stream that we'll look at is the equity. So you're receiving shares, you're receiving ownership into the company. There's 5 ways to earn equity, and we'll discuss each and every one of them so you understand how that operates. Revenue share. There's oftentimes whenever you're going through a presentation, people lump in equity and revenue share to the point of confusion, where you think that revenue share equals equity and equity equals revenue share. That is not the case. Equity is equity, revenue share is revenue share. So we'll look at what the differences are and how these become your primary revenue streams, and some of these become your exit strategy from the business, meaning you don't have to continue selling until you physically die. There's an actual exit plan that you can really take advantage of if you have the foresight to do so, and we'll talk about what that looks like here shortly. Going right into it, let's look at what matters to you right now. There's many of you that are already in the in the business in real estate, or are looking to get into real estate. So you know what commission splits are, you know what transaction fees are, you know what all that is. So I want to give you this information first. This is where you're actively selling. So this is what matters to you. You want to see how much actually comes home. So eXp operates under an 80-20 commission split model. So that means 80% for you, 20% for the company. It has a $16,000 cap. So the $16,000 cap is, if you're trying to equate that to the amount of sales that you would need in terms of sales volume, that equates to about 2.66 million in sales volume, assuming that you charge your clients 3% commission. That means that there's $80,000 GCI, $16,000 of that would go to the brokerage, and the remainder would go to you. After that, after you hit your cap, you receive 100% commission for the remainder of the anniversary year. So this means that the 80-20 split goes away after you hit your cap of $16,000. After that, $16,000 goes to eXp Realty. You go to 100% commission split model. So 100% goes to you. And one thing that we do need to make note of, though, since your commission split has gone away, you do have a $250 cap transaction fee. So that means that after you cap, you're not paying a split, you are paying $250 per transaction. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. For 20 more transactions, which basically means once cap transaction fees equal $5,000, that means that 250 times 20, that's how you get to the 5,000. That cap transaction fee is reduced to $75. Now that 20 transactions after capping is very important. So I want you to remember that as we get into the equity part. I'm not trying to confuse you too much right now, so and throw too many numbers at you, but I want to make sure that you understand how everything is tied in together. So a quick recap: 80-20 commission split. 80% goes to you, 20% for the brokerage, until you cap at $16,000. So your cap is $16,000. That means that once eXp Realty has received the $16,000, you go to 100% commission for the remainder of the anniversary year. And then after that, you have the cap transaction fee. So just note that either you're under this split model or you're under a transaction fee model. You're not going to be on both. That's not a thing. You're not paying double fees. When it comes to fees and costs, it's $149 startup fee, which already includes your first month's fee of $85 a month. So it's $85 to be part of eXp Realty. That's what the monthly fee is. So $85 times 12, that is your yearly cost to be part of the brokerage. Regardless if you do 30 transactions or 0 transactions that year, it's going to be $85 a month as far as the cloud brokerage fee is concerned. So this is a standard cost. This is a fixed cost for you. Now, what's transaction-based costs? So as you have a transaction, you need to consider these two additional costs, these two additional splits. So for every transaction that you have, you're going to have a $25 broker review, and then you're going to have a $40 risk management fee. So errors and omissions, which the risk management fee actually caps at $500. So it's not you paying an additional, it's not you paying the E&O or the risk management up front, like in many brokerages where they'll charge you $800, $1,200 at the beginning of the year. That's not that's not the case here. You actually pay your risk management as you go, as the transactions happen. So it's not an additional fee that gets imposed on you when there's no money that's come in. So if you break it down in terms of the cost, there's really 4 costs that I want you to be aware of. You have your standard cost of $85 a month, and then which is going to be your fixed cost. Your 3 variable costs are transaction dependent, which means that the split, that is transaction dependent. So once you have a transaction, your split is 80-20, so 20% is what we would consider here as the cost, and then $25 for that broker review, so as they review the file, and then $40 for risk management fee. So those are the 3 fees, those are the 3 costs that eXp Realty will impose on you as the transaction actually happens. So again, it's important to remind you that it's as the transactions happen, not before. All right, so let's dig into the equity. Let's talk about some equity. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down below. I understand we're going a bit quick, but I want to get this information into your hands and be respectful of your time. So as a quick reminder, we are on the NASDAQ. So our ticker symbol is EXPI, eXp Realty World Holdings. I'm sorry, eXp World Holdings. So there's 5 ways that you earn equity at eXp, and it's really doing what you're already doing. It's leveraging what you're already doing. You're already selling real estate. You're already being successful, and you're receiving equity as a grant, as a gift, as an award, as a bonus, however you want to categorize it. This is the power of eXp Realty and how quickly we're growing. So sustainable equity plan. There's 3 ways that you're receiving equity or shares under this plan. So you earn shares on your first transaction. Every single year on your first transaction, you receive shares. And that is a $200 bonus, if you will, $200 grant. So you receive $200 worth of shares. Whatever the price happens to be, you're going to divide $200 divided by the price of the share at that moment, and that's the amount of shares that you receive. You also receive shares when you fully cap. So as a quick reminder, for you to cap, it's $16,000. So the moment that you reach your cap of $16,000, you receive $400 worth of shares. You earn shares when an agent you sponsor closes their first transaction. Well, once you sponsor an agent into the company, we'll talk about what that would mean financially from a revenue share perspective, but once you sponsor an agent into the company, meaning somebody wants to join eXp and they place you down as a sponsor, you can receive not only revenue share, but also here what we're talking about is shares on an equity when they make their first transaction. So if one of your cousins, one of your friends, one of your past coworkers, somebody that is in your sphere, if they place you down as their sponsor, when they make their first transaction, you receive shares, which is a beautiful thing. And that's $400 worth of shares. Now, one quick reminder, on your first transaction, that's a yearly thing. So you receive $200 on your first transaction every year. And then when you fully cap, that's also a yearly thing. That's $400 of shares when you fully cap every single year. And then you earn shares when an agent that you sponsor in their first transaction. Now, that is a one-time thing. So it's not every single year that they make their first transaction, is just when they make their first transaction, period. Now, the Icon Award, we talked about that 20 transactions after capping being important, right? We talked about that over here of you're going to have a $250 cap transaction fee. And once the cap transaction fees total $5,000, that means 20 more transactions. Then the cap transaction fee is reduced to $75. So every file there in terms of a fee would cost $75 for you. So what that looks like here is you can receive up to $16,000 in stock upon the achievement of certain production and cultural goals within your anniversary year. So this is the Icon Award. So to put this as simply as I possibly can, after you cap at eXp, so as a quick reminder, it's $16,000. After you cap at eXp, if you go on to do 20 more transactions, you are eligible for the Icon Agent Award. And once you have that award, you can earn up to $16,000 in stock. So keep in mind, when you cap, it's $16,000. If you go on to do 20 more transactions, which you wouldn't be under this split anymore, you would be under this capped fee. If you go on to do 20 more transactions, I'm not sure if I said 16 more transactions, but I meant to say 20 more transactions. If you go on to do those 20 more transactions, meaning if you pay $5,000 more into the brokerage from fees, this $16,000 can come back to you in the form of equity. That is huge. So this is an opportunity for you that no other brokerage will give you, where you, for all intents and purposes, you can sell a ton of real estate for several thousand dollars, but get this back in the form of equity. And quick reminder, stock goes up, stock goes down, stock goes sideways. There's just so many different ways that the stock could go. But just as a quick note, eXp Realty started in the penny stocks. It started in the couple of pennies, and then in a couple of bucks per share, to where now it's I can't quote to you the exact price at the moment, but depending on when you watch this video, look at where it is right now and go back 5 years. So you get to see the growth of what if you were to receive $16,000 worth of stock, what that can actually mean for you as it grows. So it's not going to be $16,000. It might be $16,000 this year, or that the moment that you get it, but a year from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, what could that amount to? There's a lot of millionaires at eXp that started out early and were receiving this icon award, that their stock alone retired them. Their stock alone made them millionaires, which is huge. And as you're looking at the agent equity program down here, you can participate in that. That is an optional thing. You do not have to do it, but you can enroll to be paid 5% of every transaction. Of every transaction commission with stock at a 10% discount. So what that means is you can use 5% of your commission to purchase stock at a 10% discount. That's what that means. Now, this is optional. Not every agent goes under this. I can tell you that I am enrolled in this, but it's totally up to you. Where if you look at this, this is what you were going to do already. This is all contingent upon real estate being sold. That's why we're the largest independent brokerage out there, that by volume and by transactions at this point. So that's a lot of real estate going out the door. All right, so quick reminder, as you have questions, please feel free to drop them down below. We just came from the commissions and then the equity as well. But now we're going to go into the revenue share, so you understand how some agents are receiving over $100,000, over $500,000, including some over $1 million a month in revenue share alone. All right, so let's look at the revenue share. eXp Realty agents can receive revenue share income from the sales activity of the productive agents they sponsor. eXp pays out and retains 50% of the company dollar. So let's look at this the best way that I know how. The split at eXp is 80-20. 80% for you, 20% for the brokerage. From that 20%, eXp retains 50%, that would be company dollar, and pays out 50% to the agents. So 10% for the brokerage, 10% for the agents under the revenue share program. The entire revenue share program operates from that 10%. So just want to make sure that you understand where the money is coming from, so it all adds up, right? So as you sponsor an agent, I'll show you the revenue share plan chart. As you sponsor an agent, you have the opportunity of receiving revenue, a share of the revenue, when they do transactions. So if you sponsor an agent, let's just say you sponsored one agent and they sold a $10,000 commission, or they received $10,000 commission, well, 20% of that would go to the brokerage and they would keep the other 80%, right? So $8,000 would stay for the agent, and then $2,000 would go to the brokerage. Well, from the entire thing, from the entire $10,000 commission, you receive 3.5% of that, which is $350. Now that happens all the way until they cap. So if an agent sells a transaction in January of $10,000, you receive your 3.5%, which is $350 on February. So you're getting paid as transactions are closing. This is not a end of year review. This is not what Keller Williams operates, which is profit share. So they have to wait until they close out the books and hope that there's profit to share. This is revenue share. This is off the top. So that's what revenue share is. So let's look at the definition one more time. eXp Realty agents can receive revenue share income from the sales activity of the productive agents they sponsor. So again, that's what this means. As your agents that you sponsor, as they have transactions, you receive a percent of their of the revenue that's generated. Now, let's just say you sponsor one agent and they go on to sponsor another agent. Well, you also benefit from that revenue as well. And it goes 7 levels deep. So they can sponsor another agent, and they can sponsor another agent, and they can sponsor another agent. That's what these tiers are. So you can find yourself growing your revenue share group exponentially through this compounding effect. Now, let me know if you have any questions, because this is where I typically lose people. So I want to make sure that everybody is up to date. Over here, you see the frontline qualifying agent. So what this means is when you look at frontline qualifying agent, think of that as personally sponsored agents that you personally sponsor, that have placed your name as the sponsor, right? So these are people that that would all be on your tier 1. You do need to have a certain amount of frontline qualifying agents, meaning a certain amount of agents that you personally sponsor, in order to unlock this column right here. You will be receiving revenue share regardless if you've personally sponsored one agent or 50 agents. You will be receiving this, but in order to unlock these percentages right here, you're looking at these amount of frontline qualifying agents. So let's go with an example. Let's say you sponsored one agent right here on level 1. And that one agent went on to sponsor another agent on level 2. And that agent went on to sell a home, and that sale was $10,000 worth of commission. Well, if you sponsored one agent here only, and then that agent that we're talking about on your tier 2 that they sponsored, they go on to sell and have a $10,000 commission, you would receive 0.2% of that $10,000, right? So I think it's like $20. That's what you would receive. Now, let's just say, because if you look over here on the frontline qualifying agent, you're under the 4 threshold, under the 5 threshold, basically. So you do not have enough frontline qualifying agents to open up this tier, right? So you'll still receive this, but to have access to the exponential share, in addition to this, so to have access to 3.8 in addition to this, you would need at least 5 agents on your front line or your tier 1 or personally sponsored agents. So now let's go into another example. Let's just say you sponsored 5 agents on your on your front line, and they were all qualifying agents, which we'll talk about what qualifying means here shortly. I just want you to understand the tier system. If of those 5 agents, if only one of them sponsors another agent, and that agent is here and they have that same $10,000 transaction, then you're talking about receiving this 0.2%, which is $20, and this, which is $380, because you had 5 frontline qualifying agents. So you unlock this exponential share. Now, here's where we go one step further. So make sure that if you have any questions, you drop it down below. Frontline qualifying agent count, simply because you sponsor someone does not mean, simply because you sponsor somebody does not mean that they're qualifying agents. That just means that they're frontline agents or agents that you personally sponsored. What the difference between FLA, so frontline agents, versus frontline qualifying agents is to be a qualified agent, that agent would need to either have 2 transactions every 6 months or a $5,000 gross commission every single 6 months. So basically, the agents that you sponsor, you can't just have agents that join and do nothing with their license and are not producing. They need to join the company and actually produce something for you. And the company, most importantly for them though, is that they produce something. Once they join eXp, if they go on to do nothing, well, that's not added to your frontline qualifying agents. They need to either have sold 2 transactions in 6 months or have $5,000 in GCI, gross commission income. That's how they become frontline qualifying agents. So every 6 months, these agents have to qualify in order to be added to your list. So now that you know that, simply attracting and sponsoring 5 agents doesn't mean that this automatically gets unlocked. Those 5 agents actually need to produce something. They either need to sell 2 transactions for those 6 months or have $5,000 in GCI. All right. Revenue share explained. This is what we just talked about, and we did the math for you already. This is the maximum potential annual revenue share per agent. So every agent on your tier 1 can be worth up to $2,800 for you every single year. On your tier 2, you saw that the percentages were higher. So if you add these together as 4%, you can get up to $3,200 for all of your agents on your tier 2. And then up to $2,000 for all of your agents on tier 3. And then you keep going and going and going. But notice that over here, there are the requirements in order for you to unlock this column, which is basically it leads you to these high numbers. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that because it's important. All right. So up to 2,800, up to 32, up to 2, up to 1,200, up to 800, and so on and so forth. So that's how you have previously when I mentioned that there's some agents out here that are making over 100, over 500, over $1 million in revenue share. That's how these numbers actually happen, right? So just make note that this is an opportunity. There's no implied representation that you're going to make this money. Of course, all of it has to do with the amount of hard work that you get. All of this is just for your information, so you know what you have access to. But this is certainly not a guarantee. This is not implied that you're going to achieve these milestones and this level of income. All of it has to do with your work into the company. All right, so let's look at some partners. And if you have any questions on that, that's the most complicated part of the of eXp per se. So I will make sure that there's a link down below if you want access to the calculator that does all the calculations for you on the revenue share. Make sure that you click that link there and you'll get a revenue share calculator so you can calculate the revenue share, and you can also calculate your commission splits as well. That way you can compare your previous take home from your brokerage and also what it could look like at eXp. Now, when you look at partners, there's so many that we don't have time to cover all of them, but you see that we have title, you see that we have a signage partner, you have obviously you can rep the merch, you can buy some branded stuff. We have an iBuyer platform, so this is equivalent to the Zillow iBuyer program. This is equivalent to the Open Door programs, to where you can offer to purchase homes and be backed up through express offers. So that's something that is available to you. We have a home warranty partnership. We have home insurance partnership, so you can continue your education. We have the CE Shop partnership if you need commissions advanced. So if you're a little bit light for towards the end of the month, then you can have your commissions paid in advance. And then we of course have our IDX website, which is a great IDX plugin already into our KV core, but also if you need a WordPress IDX plugin for your personally branded website, you can explore that. Now there's some additional partners. So if you have let's see over here, we have our lending platform. We have Verbella, which is our virtual world. We have pre-sale renovation, so Curbio, which is one of our partners. So if you can do renovation to sell the home for higher volume or higher sales. You can use Curbio for that. Currencies Direct, you have the currencies exchange. So if somebody from another country wants to purchase in the United States, you can receive a small override, so a small commission as for the currency exchange. There's a lot more partnerships. So for moving services, so if you want them to connect their electricity, if you want to help them connect their water and all that fun stuff, you can do that right here. So we have a lot of partners, and these continue to change. We continue to add, so make sure that you check on the most updated version because they continue to change for the better. Our technology, we talked about it briefly. We have real-time support. We have specialized departments, so that's what all they're dedicated on doing. So you don't get a broker that has to do everything. That has to do compliance. That has to do technology training. That has to do this other type of training. We have specialized departments to help you. Of course, we have a very team collaboration mentality. We share information sharing, so it kind of goes back into the collaboration. So we have daily training, 80 hours of live training every single month. And we have, again, Verbella, which is our online brokerage, our virtual brokerage, which allows us to have meetings at scale. A little bit more about our technology. eXp Enterprise, this is our business intelligence platform, which we're able to track our stock. We're able to track the amount of transactions that we've done, so we know where our fees are going and how much more we need in order to cap. This is also where we have our marketing and branding portals. Everything that you need to operate your business is here through business intelligence. SkySlope, this is our transaction management solution, where this is where you would upload all of your contracts, have them reviewed, and this is how you would ultimately get paid. This is how we keep track of all the transactions. Workplace, this is our private community just designed for eXp Realty agents. So all the 75,000+ agents, plus all the executives, everybody is on Workplace. So you have access to all the executives, all the brokers, all the administrative support, all the other agents through a private DM. So a private solution that was created by Facebook/Meta. So think of like Facebook, think of Meta right now, but now apply it in a business solution. CRM and lead generation. So we have KV Core, which is your CRM, your safe search provider, your IDX provider, your website provider, your email autoresponder, your landing page generator, your text autoresponder. That's what KV Core allows you to do. So you have access to that already included in your fees. So you don't have to purchase a website. You don't have to purchase a CRM. You don't have to purchase anything additional. Your $85 a month already covers that. And you're free to do your own branding, but in case that you don't have a brand yet, or are looking for a more cost-effective solution as you're building up your brand, we have all the branding that you'll need. You have your listing presentations, your buyer presentations, your scripts, your this, that, and the other, all the flyers, everything else that you would need to promote your business and grow your business is already covered. Co-working. So physical space is something that gets asked quite a bit. Hey, do you have an office? No, eXp Realty does not have a corporate office, and you won't find an office that you can go to from an eXp perspective. There are brokers and teams that join eXp that already have an office, but most of them are actually looking to do away with it because they joined eXp because they saw the opportunity, but also they don't want a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month overhead if they don't need it. So we have a partnership with Regus office locations, which allows us to do co-working. So we can go into any Regus location and work in their common space for absolutely free. That's already included in our fees. Now, if you want a private office or a dedicated desk where you can leave your stuff, then yeah, you would have to pay for that. However, you can go to any Regus office location, drink their coffee, use their Wi-Fi, use their common space, have meetings there. that's something that you can absolutely do for free on any Regis location because you're part of eXp Realty. That's a partnership that eXp secured early because eXp recognized that although eXp itself is not in the brick and mortar business, some agents absolutely want to have that. So we have this partnership with Regis, which focuses on providing this style of co-working, this style of working for your benefit. Agent healthcare. This is something you're not going to find in many other brokerages. So you have access to affordable healthcare. You have access to a networks a healthcare solution that actually works for you. So I am actually part of Agent Healthcare by Clearwater here. So the Agent Healthcare is my healthcare company. Well, I don't own it. I am part of it. So I pay my monthly dues. This is how I get my coverage. So it's something that I compared it to the plan that I had previously versus this, and this won out in terms of benefits and costs. So for return on investment, this was very, very good for me. But if you want some additional information on it, just go to exphealthcare.com. That's where you'll get your specific situation lined out so you know exactly how much you would be paying if you were covered under the healthcare plan that eXp offers. Let's talk about our exit strategy. Exit strategy in the past was I'm going to sell, and hopefully I've made investments in real estate, I've made investments in the stock market, I've made investments elsewhere in Bitcoin or whatever, and hopefully at some point I can retire. Well, that was the traditional way of doing things that in real estate, where I'm just going to sell as much as I can, store as much as I can, and then hopefully I can retire. Well, at eXp, you doing the work of a real estate agent, because we're a real estate brokerage, you doing your work already gives you a leg up, because as we mentioned, there's 5 ways that you're earning equity. So on your first transaction, when an agent that you sponsor closes their first deal, when you cap, when you reach icon status, you get the $16,000 in stock, and then you can use a portion of your commission to purchase stock at a discount. So you already have mechanisms in place leveraging what you're already doing, which is selling real estate. So this is the equity component. This is an exit strategy to where when you exit the company, there's some agents that have, as mentioned earlier, multi-million-dollar portfolios from the stock, from the equity alone. So that's an exit strategy. That's something that you can check out whenever you've vested that stock. Now let's talk about revenue share. Revenue share is when you sponsor an agent and they go on to sponsor an agent and they go on to sponsor an agent. So it goes back to those 7 levels. Well, you're receiving revenue as transactions close. So the more agents that you sponsor and the more agents that they sponsor, the bigger the revenue share becomes. So the revenue share is something that you get every single month as long as you're part of the company. And then also you have revenue share in the event when you pass away, you can actually will that over to your family. So in the past, what brokers and team owners and agents, what they would inherit to their family was more headaches and liability, where somebody passes away and the agent passes away and, well, there's a commercial lease to take a hold of. There's a franchise that they have now. There's this, there's that, there's whatever. But here, you're not looking at that. When you pass away, your revenue share can be willed over to your family. So they just step into your shoes and are collecting that revenue share without really having to work for it. So there's an exit strategy here that doesn't exist in any other brokerage out there to this level. So I want to make sure that you understand that. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, well, eXp, I think that might be the play for me. However, who you join with matters. Our group, the Agent First Group, we have free lead generation. We do daily masterminds. We have our own revenue share system, which not only will give you additional revenue share opportunities, but also we'll share with you how we actually tap into the revenue share through eXp. You get access to our virtual assistants. You get done for you editing, and we have over 20 programs that you can benefit from our group. So the Agent First Group, that's the group that I started. It's one of the fastest growing groups in the country at the moment because of everything that we do for our agents, and we help them grow their business. So it's not just a, hey, check out this program right here that I created a few years ago. No, we update all of our information. We update all of our programs. Every single one of our programs was either created by myself, created by my business partners that already have mastered a certain skill set that will help you grow your business. So we're talking about KV Core. We have one of our very own is a master at KV Core. She did an accelerator for us. We have a husband and wife duo that really took our investment eyes and made them even bigger. So they taught an accelerator course for Airbnb. We have the six-figure blueprint from a veteran of 30 years. She is somebody that has been in the business, was actually a broker owner before she joined Closer Brokerage and joined our group at eXp and brought her entire brokerage over. So we have success story after success story. So if you're looking to grow your real estate business within eXp and also tap into the additional revenue streams and the additional revenue streams that we offer here, now is the time. There is a link down below that will share with you some additional information that we have for you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know down in the comment section.